Hello and welcome to the project Tiptoes. This shawl pattern you can find on my website. The link and more information about the material you also find in the video description here. This video is just meant to be the addition to the instruction. We start our shawl at the one tip end, you see here in the bottom, and we're knitting all the way up to the other end, so then it's easy to change the length of the shawl as ever you like it. We cast on with color A. Just take your favorite technique. We have to cast on 17 stitches in total. And the cast on row counts as row number 1 in the instructions. Little count, okay, once more. And I was a bit stingy with my thread end, but it was just enough. Okay, now the row back, the first row back, is kind of our setup row for the markers and everything. We slip the first stitch. We knit the second, then 3 stitches in purl, that's the end of our left hand edge that will be later on. We're in the back row here. Put one marker on the needle, then we knit one stitch and put the second marker on the needle. This one stitch is the beginning of the body of your shawl. Left and right you have the edges. Now we're coming to the right hand edge. 3 purl and 3 knit. Three purl, 1 knit and 1 purl. Okay, now we take our color B and we slip the first stitch, knit the second one, and the following 3 stitches we will slip with the yarn in the back. Then knit 3, slip 3 stitches with the yarn in the back again, move the marker, and then we knit 1 stitch and we make 1 stitch right away. You will always make 1 stitch in the last position before the second marker, and then we knit the following 5 stitches to the end of the row. Always when you knit color B, when you're in the color B row, in front of the second marker, you will make 1 stitch. Now we slip the first stitch in row number 4, knit the second one, purl 3, move the marker, and now the back row with color B is always purl in the body. So we purl the following 2 stitches. Move the marker, then slip the following 3 stitches, this time with yarn in front. Knit the following 3 stitches. And slip the next 3 stitches again with yarn in front. Then knit the next and purl the last stitch. Now here the starting threads are a little bit loose, but you can pull it tight. That's always the annoying part in the setup. Okay, now we start with the next row. That's row number 5. Again in color A, slip the first stitch, knit the second one, knit the following ones. We're knitting, making knit stitches up to the first marker all the way through. all the bubbles, all the increases, decreases will always be made in the color B row. In the body also we knit in the front row, and we will also knit in the back row. So here you just go all the way across, all in knit stitches up to the end of the row. Then here again you slip the first stitch purlwise, then knit one stitch and purl the next 3 stitches. It's always the same along the entire shawl. The following 2 stitches we knit because we're working in color A. Then you purl the following 3 stitches, then 3 knit, 3 purl, 1 knit, 1 purl. When you're pulling of course this first slipped stitch is always a bit loose. When you pull it tight, make sure that you're not pulling it too tight. That might make your right hand edge a little bit too short. But this is anyway the inner curve of your shawl, so you can make it a little bit tight, but not too tight. Just that we have a proper tension here. We're working again in color color B. And you see here again, first stitch is a slip stitch, then you knit, then you slip the next 3 stitches with a yarn in the back, knit 3 stitches, slip the next 3 stitches with a yarn in the back, and now we're in the body. And again, right before that second marker, you make 1 stitch. All the other stitches are knit. Now, after the marker, we make our first bobble. So the first stitch is after the marker is knit, and then in the next stitch we make our first bobble. And here you make 1 knit, 1 yarn over, 1 knit, 1 yarn over, 1 knit, all in the same stitch. This way we have 5 new stitches on the needle here. And now you can either turn and purl the 5 stitches back, or you do it like me, that you just knit backwards. So I slip the first stitch always, then knit the following 4 stitches. When you're in the back, doing that from the back, you would purl the stitches. I'm just knitting backwards here. Then you slip the first stitch again, it's the next right side row, and knit the following 4 stitches. Always the first stitch also in the bobbles is a slip stitch. For bobbles, it's really worth learning to knit backwards. That saves you a lot of turning around. Okay, this is my 3rd front row, right side row. Again, slip the first stitch, knit the following 4, and this is now the last back row, slip the first stitch, and then knit the following 4 stitches. Now we're knitting all the 5 stitches together. That's a tough cookie to swallow when you do that all at once. So what I usually do is that I'm slipping the first 2 or 3 stitches, depending on the yarn. Then I'm knitting the following 3 stitches together. And then I'm pulling the slipped stitches also over that 1 stitch that I just pulled through. Then you knit the following stitch after the bobble, and also the next 2 stitches up to the end of the row. Now in the back row, you start as usual, you slip the first stitch purlwise, then you knit 1 stitch, purl the next one, and the bobble stitch we slip with the yarn in front, and you purl the next one. Now comes the body. You move the marker, then you purl the stitches, all the stitches of the body. Always when you're doing color B, you purl in the back row. here in the body part. Then you slip the next 3 stitches of that right hand edge, purl the following 3 once, slip the next 3 once again, of course with yarn in front as before. Then you knit 1 and purl 1 at the end of the row. Now the next right side row will be done again in your color A. And again, slip the first stitch, knit the following 10 stitches. Move the marker, knit all stitches of the body. Up to the next marker, move the marker, and now we do a little trick here to close that hole next to the bubble. We slip the first stitch, then we pull up the edge stitch here, the side of the bubble, pull it on the left hand needle, also put the slipped stitch on the left hand needle, and then we knit those 2 stitches together. This way the hole next to the bubble is closed and you don't have this hole in the structure. Then you knit the following 4 stitches up to the end of the row. This is a very nice trick to close up these big holes that you have otherwise next to the bubble. Then you slip the first stitch, knit 1, purl 3. This is just the usual back row, the rest of this row. Get to the body, it's color A, so we knit also in the back row. Then you move the marker and you purl 3, knit 3, purl 3, knit 1, purl 1. That's the usual end. Okay, now at the end of the row, again, we change the color. We will continue with color B, of course. And now the next color B row will not get a bubble or anything. We just work in color B. It's only every second color B right side row that will get a bubble. So this is the easy one now. Slip the first stitch, knit 1, slip the following 3 stitches. That's always the same here in the color B rows in the beginning. Then you knit the following 3 stitches. That's the garter part here. Then you slip the following 3 ones with the yarn in the back, of course. Move the marker, knit up to the end before that next marker, the second marker. Here you make 1 stitch, knit 1, make 1, move the marker, and then you knit the following 3 stitches just across the bubble and knit also the last 2 stitches up to the end of the row. And in the back row, you slip the first stitch purlwise, knit 1, then purl, and of course in the body part again we purl all the stitches to the next marker. And here again you slip the 3 stitches with the yarn in the front. That's always the same for this part. And then you knit the following 3 stitches. That's the garter strip in the vertical line, if you like. Then you slip the following 3 stitches with the yarn in the front, you knit 1, you purl 1, and that's the end of the row. Again, we have the color change, another easy row because we will just work in our color A. So we slip the first stitch, then knit the following 10 stitches. And you see here that you have these two lines, vertical lines with the color A, where we always make the slip stitches when we are working in color B, and in between them you have this garter strip. Now in the body we knit all the stitches up to the second marker, move the marker, then you knit the last 5 stitches. So actually this entire row is just knit. In the back row we create the pattern, of course, so here we have to pay attention. Then you slip the first stitch again, you knit the second one. This is always the same at the beginning of each row. Then you purl the following 3 stitches here. Move the marker, knit the following 3 stitches, or the following stitches up to the next body. Because it's repetitive from some point on, only the stitches in your body are increasing, but the rows on the edges will be, the pattern on the edges will be the exact same. Here after the body in the right hand edge, we knit the purl the first 3 stitches, then knit 3, purl 3, knit 1, purl 1, and you're at the end of the row. When you pull the thread tight, as I said, don't pull it too tight, just a gentle tag on that thread. Now, the next color row, and this is a bobble row again, but this time we make the bobble in the first part. You see here, this bobble edge is rolling up already a little bit, as we wanted. So we start the row by slipping the first stitch, then knit 1, then slip the following 3 stitches with the yarn in the back, as usual. Then you knit the first stitch of the garter part, and into the next one we make or on the next stitch we create our next bobble. And again it's knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, and then we are working the way back. And here I left my favorite mistake in there, because you will see, if you pay attention, that I'm knitting 1 stitch too far here in my back row. I was not only knitting over the bobble stitches, but also the 1 stitch before. And this is a mistake that I made quite a couple of times while I was working on my project. So I left it in here, but I realized here that I have too many stitches on my needle, exactly 1 too many. And then I realized that it went 1 stitch too far. So I'm going back here. I just left that in because we learn from mistakes, and this easily happens when you knit backwards, the first back row in a bobble, that you just catch that stitch next to it. So I left it in here and corrected it. Now again, always the first stitch is a slip stitch for each bobble to have this nice edge there. And also here we have 5 stitches across and 6 rows in total before we knit all stitches together. And you can see that here, you see I'm usually knitting continental, but when you're knitting backwards, I'm throwing. And that's the whole trick. So if you are a thrower, you have to go continental on your back row, then you can leave the thread on the same finger. If you are a continental knitter, you have to become a thrower when you knit backwards. That's the entire secret. That's my last row already, so I'm knitting all stitches together. And then I just continue with the basic pattern. So I knit 1, slip 3 stitches with the yarn in the back, then move the marker, knit up to the next marker, and that stitch before the next marker, I make 1 stitch. Then comes the other edge. We just knit 5 stitches here up to the end of the row, and then we turn around for the back row. See, once you make a bobble on the left edge, and in the next position you make a bobble on the right edge. And this is alternating, always with 1 bobble-free color B row in between them. Here it's the same, just as you did in the other rows. And here in the body, of course, it is our color B, so we do purl in the back row. after a while, this is a no-brainer. This whole pattern, it's repetitive and it has a nice rhythm, and you can just keep going. And again, here in the back row, we knit the stitch before that bobble. We slip the stitch of the bobble. We knit the one after the bobble. Of course, when we slip here in the back row, we will always have the yarn in front. And you see that these vertical lines, they are getting a little bit three-dimensional here because we just have these slipped stitches there and the thread behind that is tugging it a little bit closer. That gives a nice three-dimensional structure. Again, the trick to hide that hole next to the bobble. So we slip the stitch before, we pick up that side stitch here of the bobble to the left-hand needle, also the slipped stitch to the left-hand needle, and then we knit them both together and knit the bobble stitch itself and the stitch after. And here it's done already. So the bobble is fixed again, and we keep going with the basic pattern, knitting all the following stitches to the end of the row. So this is as I said before, you can see we always have one row, one color B row with a bobble. It's either on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side. This is alternating, and in between there's one bobble-free color B row, or it's two rows, right side row and the back row. But otherwise, I just count the front rows because those are the ones where you create that bobble pattern. Anyway, you understand me. Now it's the back row with our color A, and that's the same as usual. As you did before, you can find all the stitches and the written instructions and templates in the instructions for this pattern. If you are an experienced knitter, you probably don't need the pattern at all after this information because it's just, as you can see, it's a very, very simple thing. The bobbles on the left-hand side, they will be just rolling in. You don't have to do anything there. They will automatically roll in so that they become the outline of that edge. You see that here? It's just happening automatically. You don't have to fix it in any way. That's a very nice thing. It's a very, very easy to go shawl project. We do these increases just as long until your shawl has half of the length. In the middle part, we do a couple of rows just going straight, and then we start with the decreases. The decreases are done in the same position as the increases were done before, so you just knit 2 stitches together, and when your body has only 1 stitch left, then you can get to the cast off row. Just do the cast off, of course, with your color A again to have your symmetry. Yeah, that's the project. I hope you liked it, and I hope you enjoyed the little video and especially the little bobble trick, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye. Thank you.